Well, hello, folks. I just want to get in another little short video, kind of a review on something that I found on Black Friday, of all days. Shoot, I haven't been shopping on a Black Friday in I don't know how long, but a bunch of relatives were in town because of Thanksgiving, and they were going somewhere I was willing to go. I didn't know we had to go to a bunch of other stores, too. But anyway, I found myself a few nice things that day. We'd gone to a flea market, and my nephew pointed out these little folding shovels, and they had some that were like $3 or $4. They had a short handle, maybe wooden handle, short. They were small, 14 inches, maybe 16, with a little pick and a small shovel. Small, 3x5 or something. Adequate for digging little things if you had to. And then for $2 more, bringing it to $6 or $7, they had some that were a little bigger, and they had the aluminum or the metal handle as opposed to the wooden handle. Now, I got to say my preference, after having had an old foxhole shovel for many years, old military one with the straight wooden handle, I like that. And I'll explain to you why as we review this shovel that I did get. But so I figured, for $5 or $6, and it was fairly lightweight, and shovels come in handy for a lot of things, In fact, I want to get into some of that. Well, let's get into some of that right now. I remember when we used to go camping in the snow, what you would do is before you lay down your tarp, your ground cloth, you would dig out like the form of your body, to where it would be comfortable for you. And then you would fill that up with lots of dry leaves and debris that you would have to dig up. But, that served as insulation. And sometimes we even brought newspaper with us, believe it or not, and would put that down there. But it made it very comfortable, and it gave you that bed of insulation, and extremely comfortable. But, of course, we'd use a shovel for that. Another thing I used to use it for a lot, and you got to be careful for this, like oftentimes if I'm looking for a campsite, I'm wanting my tent to be, unless everything's level all around, very good, but, a slight downhill slope. I don't want to be down where a bunch of rain is going to collect, is what I'm saying, or be building up. And what I often do, especially if I know it's going to rain or if there's snow that may be melting, then I will always, when I was tent camping, dig a trench around the entire tent, as like a little moat, so that any runoff that did get into there would follow that trench and come on around the tent and keep on going downhill without getting inside or underneath of my drop cloth. All right. Now, another thing, shovels are really good for is digging latrines. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to be out there digging them by hand, and you don't want to be with a bunch of people, whether it be a Boy Scout troop or just a bunch of friends or whatever, and just have people pooping where they want, Okay. Now, I just got off the internet a little while ago, just looking at a couple shovel reviews and some prices and everything, and I'm very happy with what I got now, and I'm about to show it to you and tell you what I paid for it and where I got it, and of course I've made some modifications to it, which in my opinion make it even much more valuable now. It's comparable to one's costing many times its price. But here we go. Let me see how we're going to do this. I'm going to try to do this. This is it folded up. Comes with this sheath. I've noticed that some of the higher end ones, they don't even come with a sheath. You got to buy that separate. And I've also noticed that the dimensions of the military one, this came in that sheath with the bubble wrap on here. The military style ones, the dimensions appear to be about identical to this. This thing, the folded length is 9¼ inches. It's pretty small. Depth altogether, from highest point to highest point, looks like about 2 inches, just maybe 2 1/8. Okay, and the width is right at about 6 inches. That's the width of the blade. And let me go ahead and just open it up. Now, right now, I painted it flat black today because what I've done is I sharpened a bunch of the edges. Now, this one here, let me open it and show you better. You know, what I like is, now, and this is why I prefer the wooden handles now. I'm going to put it in the hoe type position. Now, you know, if you're having to use it like as a hoe, you know, to really dig through some hard stuff, trying to get through some clay, it's very difficult holding it on this handle to do that, you know, or you got to use two hands basically. Whereas with the straight wooden handle, you're able to just grab it and bang away. But with this one, the straight part is very short. You know, if I was to redesign this thing, I think I would keep these much closer together down here. Maybe even, yes, very close together, where you could use it as a single handle and they could still be able to fold up out of the way. Okay, I just thought I'd point that out. Now, this one, of course, you can also put it straight. Now, when I first got it, I got home and this thing was locked so tight we couldn't break it loose. I had to take two big adjustable wrenches. Now, I've since lubricated it and worked it some. I also, like I said, I painted this a flat black today. I didn't have much left in the can. I went ahead and painted over the whole thing. Of course, had to tighten up. There's a bolt here. Now, the cheaper ones, what I didn't like, they had some cheap rivets that went in here and in here, you know, where the shovel is. You can see that. And you know, I could just see them wearing out, especially with a lot of usage on the shovel, the bending, and, you know, if you're pounding and prying, yeah, using it as a hammer, I could just see those rivets look kind of like aluminum as opposed to these thick stainless bolts, you know, which are much more easily replaceable. And, of course, I've made sure that they're nice and tight now because this one was quite loose. And what I intend to do is notch these here between the nut and the bolt so that they won't happen to come loose when I'm out there digging and really needing them. You know, putting a stick in there is not going to hold very long. All right, now here's some of the nice features that came with this one. It has see this saw edge on here. It's got a saw edge here. Up here, it has some bigger teeth. I don't know if you can see that because I can't. Yeah, and these could come in very handy for a lot of like minor chopping tasks and stuff. And what I did is I just bought a cheap file set recently with a lot of files, and I sharpened every single one of these. I don't know if you can see it, but I've sharpened all of the teeth, both on this blade and on this. Oh, okay, got to get in front of the lens. That's what it is. So they're actually quite sharp. They weren't so sharp before. And then I also sharpened the edges. You can't see it now because I've repainted it. I mean, you can see the nice clean metal edge. Took a lot to get those down, you know, sharpen it on both sides so that actually this is pretty sharp now on this edge where you could, you know, use it for, say, some minor chopping task or in self-defense or whatever the case might be. And I also did sharpen the front edge, but not a whole lot. I didn't want to make it real sharp, but I wanted it to be able to dig into the dirt better. I almost wish I'd made it a little bit sharper, but I didn't want that thing getting all bent and nicked up, you know, if you start hitting rocks. But here's the big thing about this. The guy wanted $8. And I was already buying a couple of like $1 or $2 items, and I went back and looked between this and the $5 or $6 one, and I said, I don't know, man. This one's bigger and heavier, and I'll give you $7 for it. So he said, okay. So, man, I got this thing for $7. I haven't seen as good of a deal online. I haven't seen, I mean, it's a good deal, and I'll tell you what, I'm very pleased. It's actually, you know, it's made in China, but it's pretty well built, folds up nice and compact. The weight, you know, I wish it was lighter, but when you compare it to the higher end ones that look just like this and pretty much are about the same dimensions, work the same way, made out of very similar materials, if not the same. It's a little heavy. I haven't had an opportunity to weigh it, but some of those other ones are, I think the Gerber is rated very highly, and it's a little over 2 pounds. And like Schrade is 2.8 pounds, and it's rated very highly. And I kind of like the design of their blade. I ought to give it a lot of strength. But anyway, $7 I paid at a flea market, out of a Chinaman stand. I'm very pleased with it. All right, well, hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you can get somewhere, if there's a flea market near you or something. Maybe you can find one cheap, because I haven't seen one at that price on Amazon or anything. And this one, some of those are deceptive with a low price. When you actually read the dimensions of the spade, they're smart. In fact, small. In fact, let me give it, they'll look just like this, in the pictures. But this thing, the spade itself, is 8.5 inches long. And yes, a full 6 inches wide. So you can dig out a lot of dirt with this thing. Like I say, and I've also, as a young man, we dug complete underground shelters where we used to have 6 or 8 of us down in there. We used to make traps, actually. So a shovel could come in quite handy. I kind of hated picking it up for the weight. And you're going to have to add that weight to what I'm carrying. So it's somewhat of an option, but it's a good option to have. Yeah. So I'm deciding where to attach it to, and hopefully before long I'll get a chance to get out and use it. All right, everybody have a good day. Keep that in mind. Well, a shovel's a great tool to have out there. Like I say, for all kind of things, and these, especially once you've sharpened those edges and done stuff like that, it's even better. There was one guy, I'd seen him. He was on one of those Survivor TV things. I guess he won it, and now he's real good at taking one of those, and he throws it like a tomahawk and makes it stick in logs. That's what he did just to keep himself occupied. And of course, he kept that thing nice and sharp. So I'm very pleased with this. Like I said, I got it all sharpened up. I got that flat paint on it just to give it more protection, and I guess it'll make it harder to see, but I'm real happy with it. $7. All right. Good luck on your shopping. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. I have to get back to making some other videos here shortly. But for now, have a good day.